Hi, I'm David Birnbaum. We're here at 2 p.m. Sunday, August 21st, 2016, Rockefeller Center. Actually, 589 Fifth Avenue to be precise. We're here with a 2 p.m. panel, and we're here to discuss Summa theory. Summa theory is from Summa Metaphysica, a 3-volume treatise. Volume 1, 1988, Volume 2, 2005, and Volume 3, 2014. Volume 1, Summa Metaphysica 1, God and Evil, Religious Man. Volume 2, Spiritual Man, God and Good. Summa Metaphysica 3, Secular Man, the Transcendent Dynamic. There is a Summa Metaphysica addendum, articles on Summa, which can only be read online. So the last one, article on Summa, is not for sale, but it's available free online on the main site, Summa Metaphysica 1, summametaphysica.com. Okay. So, Summa Metaphysica has a modest goal: to crack the cosmic code. Currently, there's no paradigm on the world scene which is generally accepted as a working hypothesis, which deals with fundamental questions. These are questions that 7-year-olds ask, and academics give it a fancy name, metaphysics. So, for instance, if there is a God, where did God come from? The academic name is theogony. A 7-year-old might ask, where does the universe come from? The academic name is cosmogony. The 7-year-old might ask, if there's God, why do terrible things happen? The academic name is theodicy. The 7-year-old might ask, does the universe have a purpose, a direction? The academic name is teleology. So, of course, there are two divides, with or without God in the picture. But either way, the endeavor is to crack these issues, and optimally to crack them simultaneously with one concept. The thinking being, these hitherto intractable questions are so intractable for the 7,000 years or so of civilization that if one cracks one of them, if it's the correct solution, it really should crack all of them simultaneously. That's a very high bar, but that's the high bar we set for this theory. Now, this theory is on a macro level, universe level, all the way down to a human level, and then all the way down to microscopic level, meaning this theory should apply on all levels. And the guts of the theory is that one dynamic, one hypothesized dynamic, which I call quest for potential, which other people call, or sometimes call, infinite quest for potential, or, from a religious perspective, divine quest for potential, that one dynamic, Q4P for short, right? Quest for potential, Q4P for short, simultaneously lances all these issues. Well, that's an audacious proposition. Because if it's true, the world as we know it changes. So it's a broad topic. It impacts every aspect of science, the arts, the hard sciences, the soft sciences. And therefore, to get us rolling here, we're going to wedge into it from a different direction this afternoon. We have 4 panelists, not chosen by me. I only met them at the studio here today. It's a free-ranging conversation. And we have 4 panelists: Allegra, Matt, Shira, Corey. And we go one panelist after the other. The first panelist, like Allegra, is going to ask some question. I'm going to answer, and she's going to follow through if she wishes. And if we have time, we're going to loop through the panel twice. Okay, we're going to take it away now. And here's Allegra.
All right, so I was curious to know what the greatest potential looks like. And I was wondering, in terms of how you define a human's greatest potential, or perhaps an organism, but we'll go with humans for the sake of argument. is it an individual potential so that I have my own personal potential
Right.
and maybe someone who is homeless has their own personal potential and they
Right.
are still striving towards it?
Right.
Not that their potential is to be a billionaire.
Correct, right.
So that was part one of my question.
Right, right.
And I'm curious to know what it looks like if something doesn't reach its greatest potential or if it's not striving towards it.
Right. Okay, so from my perspective, definitely that's one of my contributions, that it's individualized. Everyone has their own individual potential at any given moment in time. And an hour from now might change. In the next hour, you inherited $13.7 billion. Your potential would now shift. Okay? So if within an hour, Prince Charming made an appearance through the window, your potential would change. Okay? So your potential is not just person-specific, it's time-specific. And your job is to sort of assess your potential at different moments in time. Whether it's once a day, once a week, once a month, but periodically you should. Or if things change in your life, automatically we all do that, sort of. But we have to be more disciplined to really assess, okay, the things have changed. Now I hate my brother. My potential has changed. Now I love my brother. My potential has changed. It opens up whole new areas, or it closes whole new areas. So that's part one. And let's do part two of your question, which is,
So is it possible that there are creatures out in this world who are not striving for their greatest
right,
potential?
okay. So I suspect that human fulfillment is not so much a function of exactly how much money you earn or exactly how much this or that, but whether or not you're playing out your potential. I suspect if you're playing out your potential, you will be fulfilled. And if you're not playing out your potential, no matter how much sort of secular success you have, you will not be fulfilled. I think that's a sine qua non of fulfillment. Now, how do you play out your potential? That's a whole broad subject. It intersects with the self-actualization field, human potential, developing human potential. That's a small piece of Summa, but it's a piece we can all deal with more readily, perhaps, than abstract philosophy. So we're welcome to deal with it. And frankly, in, so to speak, cracking the cosmic code, I looked at human beings, said, because I suspect what's true on a human level is true on a cosmic level, on the universe level. And if you're missing a piece, you say, well, what do humans do in that situation? How do humans react in that situation? And vice versa. If you have missing pieces in the human puzzle, you look at the cosmic dynamic, and that might help you unlock secrets on an individual human basis. Fair? Okay, we can move on to the next speaker.
I do have a follow-up question. So in terms of evolution,
Right.
This may be opening a can of worms, but is it that if a species goes extinct, for example, is that an instance of it not having strived for its greatest potential, or how do you explain that with the potentialism theory?
That's really, great question. Okay, because we've been working through that even up until this year, that particular question. We keep trying to fine tune it, and we believe we, so to speak, have fine tuned it, at the risk of being, bombarded. But so, okay, there was Darwinian theory, courtesy Charles Darwin, and now that's morphed into what's called modern evolutionary synthesis. Look on Wikipedia, Darwinian theory, you'll see modern evolutionary synthesis. And it's hard to encapsulate it because they do not encapsulate it. But simply put, it's the most successful gene pool survives. That's Darwinian theory. But successful, we learned, remember way back, the toughest, the most able to survive, the fittest. So they're not all that far from that today, but it's sort of a little fudged. Let's say the most successful. It's somewhere in that zone between the fittest and the most successful. Now, from my perspective, they have one piece of the equation, meaning Darwinian theory is necessary but not sufficient. It's necessary for you to prevail in life, to have shelter and food, to survive. That's necessary but not sufficient. If you can't provide for shelter and food, you're in big trouble. Same with species. they must be able to survive. But, and here's where I don't say break with Darwinian theory, but totally try to revolutionize it. Species, there's a cosmic order, in my definition is everything. And there's a universe, which is the physical part of the cosmic order. That's the part we can measure, sort of measure, we attempt to measure. That's the part that science tries to measure. In my schema, the entire universe is integrated. What you've learned is transmitted to the cosmic core and integrated. And the cosmic core is assessing the entire universe, and it wants to build out its potential. Within that context, it looks at a given species and the given habitat and says, do I like what I see, or do I want to build out from there to achieve my greater ends of greater cosmic potential? If it doesn't like what it sees, it will literally tweak the genome somehow. So it's coming from above. It's not coming from survival on a particular desert island. Okay, that's the theory. That's the theory.
So basically, if a species is not reaching its greatest potential,
right,
it goes extinct, essentially, or it becomes evolves
it more
into
like
something
evolves.
else.
We see things in frames, like we might see frame one of a species and see frame 10,000. And we think one went extinct and a new one evolved. But we're missing 9,000 frames of the picture. It might be a gentle morphing, and we don't see the middle frames. We don't know the answer to that question. We're tempted to say, it's gone, here's a new one. But it could be it more gently evolves, but we don't see all the frames in the video. One way or the other becomes a new species. So Darwin went to Galapagos, right? The famous Galapagos. And he saw these giant tortoises. And he saw other stuff there. And he says, came away, survival of the fittest. I also went to Galapagos. I also saw the giant tortoises. And I came away with, it's maximizing its potential on that particular island. On that particular island, giant tortoises are more likely to prevail than little tortoises. So I looked at the same, so to speak, evidence, without the ship, without the test tubes. But I looked at the same information, and I saw it differently. Often in life, it depends what lens you look through it. You know, not that he's wrong, but to prevail on that island, they were better off with giant tortoises, which are the most vulnerable things on Earth. You know, they're so vulnerable to anything possible. So it's not exactly the fittest. Somehow, for that particular habitat, they're the optimal. Okay. Okay? Thank you. Sir, Mr. Matt.
Yeah. I've always felt like it seems as if once you get to large amounts of hydrogen in a universe that has our laws of physics, it seems to me that it's almost like an inevitable ride towards life. From my perspective, you have big clouds of hydrogen that just due to gravity start to coalesce. They start to get hot, because of the way atomic structure is. They do fusion, create all the further elements, eventually explode. That creates planetary disks, and to me it seems almost just like an inevitability. Whereas potentialism says there's like a sort of an intentional force behind it, and I was wondering why it has to be. Why there has to be something behind it other than just the laws of physics manifesting themselves on matter, I think.
I think that what you sort of suppose was very prevalent across science, maybe a decade or 2 decades ago. That no big deal. You have ammonia, hydrogen, put a test tube, let it cook, voila, life. So I don't think so. I don't think things are so simple. And I don't think you pour some hydrogen ammonia and ends up with matte, 12 billion years later. It only works if your headset is that everything is randomly happened. if or worse, I'd say group think. If the group decides there's no God, there's no direction to the universe, there's no teleology, there's no purpose, there's none of this, then how do we get from some hydrogen to matter? It happens. That you just have to be patient. So I don't see it, and I don't think so. But maybe I'm wrong. There was a common thinking across vast stretches of academia. Yeah, and maybe throw it a little lightning. Boom, you're there. But I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't.